This conference will now be recorded.
All right, on your screen, you should see the new login for Elite. You'll notice it's changed a little bit. It's a lot more simplified than what we've been used to seeing with FireBridge. Once we get everything moved over, we'll be doing that one fire department at a time. Once everybody migrates over to Elite, you will be able to use the same username and password in Elite that you currently use in FireBridge. Right now, you can't log in, so don't try. Except to the testing department, and you'll be given directions to do that a little later. But the testing department is live. We want you guys to get in there for a couple of weeks and fill out the system, to get familiar with what's there before we start to move you over to this new Elite. If you'll notice below the sign in button, there is a link if you forgot your password. And it's very important that everyone that will have a username and password has a valid email address in their user profile so that you can retrieve and reset your own password. You don't have to contact your administrator. You can click that link, enter the information. You'll get an email at that email address with a temporary password. You need to copy that and paste it here to the login screen, and then it will ask you to create a new password. So you don't have to contact anybody to get in the system as long as your account is not locked. We still have all the same rules about the passwords and getting locked out. If you don't lock out or log in 60 days, your account will automatically lock. That's a little bit of a difference from what we've seen in FireBridge, where you have to try to log in before it locks you out. You will have to change your password every 180 days like you always have, but you don't have to have like 20 different passwords that you have to remember that you can't use the last 20 or something. You can pick two and go back and forth between them so that they are easy to remember. I don't know how well you can see it, but if you can look at the top of the screen, we have a new URL for Elite. It is very long. There's no way you're ever going to remember it. I've been working with the system since February and I can't remember it. So I don't expect you to. So when you get that link to how to access the new site, I very highly recommend that you create a bookmark, a shortcut, a favorite, something that you can just click and take you to this screen without having to figure out the new website. Something we did this time is we sat down with the rating bureau and talked to them about what do you want to see these, or how do you want to see these fire departments enter their information, especially with training, so that when you get ready to go do their audit, you could log into Elite and find exactly what you need. So because of that, the training information will look a little bit different. We will not have time to talk about the training module tonight, but when we do your merge over into the, your migration into Elite, then you'll be able to, sorry, the chat bubbles keep distracting me. But once you get into Elite and we start that migration, we'll go over what the rating bureau is looking for that training, so that you'll be able to make sure that they see what they need to see. Also, we've recently discovered with FireBridge, some of you are using very old computers that have very old Windows operating systems. With Elite, you need to make sure that you are using Windows 8 or something newer. If you're using Apple, then you can you'll need to keep your Apple product up to date as well. As for browsers, on Apple products, Safari is your better option for your browser, but on all other devices, ImageTrend recommends Chrome. Internet Explorer will not support Elite, but the new Edge, I've had a couple people tell me, well, I've been using it on Edge, no problem. So ImageTrend's response to that was, well, if it's working for you, go for it, but it will not be supported in Internet Explorer. So just be aware of that with your computers. Make sure that you have up-to-date computer operating system as well as a browser. The next thing that you need to be very aware of is that your device, your computer, your tablet, that the date and time on that device matches the date and time with Elite. So not what's on your watch or what you've manually set. Look at your cell phone and make sure that your date and time of your computer matches what your cell phone company says that it is. No, Windows 7 is probably going to give you issues. If Elite is anything like FireBridge, what we've discovered was, and I don't mean to pick on somebody if you're on the call, but we found a lady who was using Windows 93 or 95 and using Internet Explorer that was just about as old as that. And every year she was entering her run reports. And at the end of the year, when we would send out to the fire coordinators to let them know they needed to talk to their fire departments about getting their data entered, she's like, I already did it. Where did it go? It disappeared. So she truly was losing her run reports. She was putting them in there and they were disappearing. And the only solution, or the only reason we can figure, is that her browser and her computer were too old. So make sure that you've got up-to-date stuff. If you're concerned about that, you can use your insurance rebate money to purchase a computer and make sure that it is up to date. Another new change in Elite, if you are with more than one fire department, all of those user accounts with all of your fire departments will be merged into a single username and password. You'll have one username and password to log in, and once you get in there, you will choose which fire department you need to be working in. And for each of those fire departments, you can have different permission settings based on what you need to see and what you need to access. Zach, I've gotten a couple messages saying they're having trouble hearing. Can you hear me okay, or is that going to be on their end?
I can hear you loud and clear, so it's gonna have to be on their end.
Okay, thank you. All right. So after we get all of your fire departments merged over to Elite, that is when we'll be able to merge you into that single account. The only thing about that single account is all of your training will still have to be entered individually by each of those fire departments. I don't know why ImageTrend set it up that way. It makes no sense, but there it is. Now, because most of you are not used to working in more than one fire department with a single login, it's going to happen that somebody will enter a run report in the wrong fire department. So don't stress it. ImageTrend has built in a tool that the state, we can move that incident report from one fire department to the other so you don't have to re-enter it. So you just contact the fire marshal's office and we'll get that moved over for you. Let me go ahead and log into the testing department. It is the same usernames and passwords that we've used in our old testing department. You still have to agree to this release form every time, like usual. You'll notice we have a new dashboard and the messages on the dashboard look very different. We have put these messages here, but you as an administrator, the fire department or the county fire coordinator, you will have the ability to add messages here as well. You can set these messages to be user specific. So if you notice this one at the top, it is specifically set for the testing department and no other fire department. Some of these are set just for administrators or users and no one else. So it's very great that we can put that information out there. In addition, each person will have the ability to add reports to this this dashboard as well. Those are specific to each person. You can't put it on there for everybody on your department, so be aware of that. Notice everything is very similarly sized, all of these blocks. Over here on the far right, you'll see the show more button, and you'll be able to expand that and read more. Notice here you've got that incident reporting help. These are your inverse coding help. Those are frequently asked questions about how to code incident reports. Your complete inverse reference guide that gives you all the codes and the expanded explanations for those codes. And then all the inverse grams that give you just little short pieces of information about frequent mistakes or things that people just don't fully understand. All of these resources are also up here. If you go to resources and documents, you'll find them there as well. And you'll find there's a blank incident report that if you don't have a form to complete on the scene, you can download one there. It's editable, so it'll give you a tool to collect information on scene to make that easier to access. Also, if you notice right here, there's a State Fire Marshal's Office website that actually takes you to some training resources with for elite and incident reporting. Once we get this video ready, it will be posted here under training videos with these others. So this is where you can go and find those videos as well as all of those guides that I just showed you. Everything is on the website as well. And there's a quick link right there. It'll also be on your live site. All right, so let's quickly jump into a run report. Well, let me give you just a very quick tour of what you see across the top, because you'll notice the tabs are looking very different. Anytime you click this ImageTrend logo, it's going to bring you right back to your dashboard, just like it did in FireBridge. If you click the name of your fire department, you're going to see an additional menu. If you have access to more than one fire department, you would also see a list of those fire departments here. So you would click on the fire department, and then this menu would be moved over. Based on your permissions, you may or may not see all of this information. The incidents tab, this tab may say incidents, it may say location, inventory, checklist, or training, depending on the module that you're currently working in. So fire is going to be your incident reporting. Then you've got locations, occupants, inspections, training activities, inventory, and checklist. Again, these are all going to be based on the permissions that your administration has given you. The resources tab is kind of like the setup button that we had in FireBridge. For the most part, if all you're doing is entering run reports, you will not have this information, except for possibly the hydrants. I'm not sure why they stuck hydrants here, but that is where you'll find all of your hydrants. The tools button or the tools tab is very much like, I'll call it a super setup button. These are some things that will be exclusively available to administrators within your department, and this is how you will build things behind the scenes. These are, think of this as building forms. This one is building the lists that feed those forms. And then the last thing is your community. This is where you're going to find university, and for the most part, most of you are going to need to access this at some point. University is where you're going to find some videos and webinars. So rather than you having to call me up, hey Tammy, when can you come and do a training on the training module? We don't have to do that anymore. It is available right here with ImageTrend teaching you how to use their product. In addition to the help in university, if you go to imagetrend.com, then go to resources and webinars, you'll find under elite webinars for fire and EMS, there are going to be report writer webinars and also implementing your checklist, locations, occupants, inspections, all of those modules. They do monthly live webinars. You can click right there, register, jump on those webinars, and that is ImageTrend teaching you how to use their product. So we still don't want you to call customer service for issues that you have, but we do really highly recommend you use the university as well as taking advantage of these free webinars. They're completely free. They happen every month, and they usually post their schedule 2 to 4 months out. So if you can't jump on the next one, you should be able to register for one of the later ones. All right. So let's now jump into an incident report. What you'll see here is you've got your view existing, this fire, that's your incident list. And then you've got create new incident report. When you get into your live site, you will see this incident report, but you'll also see another link for smoke alarm installation. With this new system, we're able to do a lot more things than we could with FireBridge. So INFRS recommends that we enter our smoke alarm installations as an incident report, but it doesn't collect all the information that we are looking for. Well, Elite allows us to add forms to that report so you can do your smoke alarm installations electronically. And then if you were to do like a chest pain call, it was non-emergent, you noticed that while you're there, the home did not have smoke alarms. So you want to do a smoke alarm installation while you were there. Your regular incident report is going to have that worksheet as well. So you could do that smoke alarm installation as part of your incident report rather than have a separate report. And all of that information is accessible by us, so you don't have to do those those smoke alarm forms anymore. You can do it all on Elite. So to start a new run report, we're just going to click Incident Report, and this opens up a blank incident report for you. It does take it just a second to load, but once it's there, everything moves very quickly. You'll notice there's a very new layout, and this is because it is mobile friendly across all platforms. You can use it on an iPad, an Android tablet, a Windows tablet, or any computer now. It can be used on your cell phone, but the screen is very small, and you may find that it doesn't work as well for you on that small screen. So the first thing you'll notice, there's a different layout. Your incident number can be auto added, or you can manually type that. That is set up by your administrator in the setup, and I'll show you in the later part of this training how to do that. Notice that by date fields, you have a little clock that you can click, and it's going to automatically put today's date in there for you. And this is why it's important that you have the date and time match what's on your computer, because that's pulling in from there. A good thing about the incident date is it will not allow you to enter a date that's after tomorrow. If you enter a date that's after tomorrow, it's going to give you this little warning symbol to let you know your date is not correct. You're going to need to update that. But if you noticed when I clicked it, it's fat finger friendly. You've got these plus and minus signs over here for the day, month, and year. It's also a text field, so I can just type in this text field and change it if I need to. A new question on the run report is this initial dispatch incident type description. So what is that? Dispatch told you were going to a car fire, but when you got there, what you found was it was steam coming from the radiator that somebody drove by at 100 miles an hour and just thought it was a car on fire. So this gives you the ability to document what dispatch told you, and then your incident type, which is what you found when you got there. If you notice what I did when you hit that drop down menu, it gives you a list of those incident type codes, but it also had in there a text field, so you can type in some information and it's going to shorten that list to just those things that match what you've typed. If you see what you're looking for, you just click it. If you're having a hard time finding it, you can also click this burger menu, which gives you over here a list of all those categories, subcategories, so you can click through there and find what it is you're looking for. You'll also notice some of your menu options will just be buttons instead of drop down. So you just click what it is that you're looking for and go to the next one. Your actions taken, you know that you can have up to 3 actions taken in FireBridge, but in Elite, it's going to allow you to have this one primary action taken. But then for your additional actions taken, notice when you click the burger menu, you can start clicking and it's going to allow you to add as many of those as actually apply to your incident report. Now, the only ones that will get sent to INFRS are those first 2. So make sure that those, the primary action and the first 2 additional actions are the biggest actions you took on that scene. INFRS recommends that you put these in code order, so numerically by the code when you do your data entry. So anytime you see this menu button over to the side, you can click that and get the full list on the left. If you see the down arrow, it's going to be a drop down where you can only choose one. And if you see the 3 bars or the burger menu, then it will allow you to choose as many as you need to. You'll also notice that some of your questions have this button that's a black circle with a dash in it. That's where you get your none, not applicable, unknown, undetermined option. So you click that and then it grays that out. If you realize you should not have done that, then you can click the little X right there and it comes back. Or if it's already clicked, you can now click the button again and uncheck it and it goes away. If you'll notice that there's a red box around it with this red tab and exclamation point, if you click that little tab, it's telling you why this is an error. If there's a red thing there, it's a validation error. But if you notice, as I choose these things, my validation score at the bottom is updating as I go along. It's not waiting until I click a save button. It is actually validating every time I click something. In addition to the validation, it's also saving this incident. So if you exit this incident report right now, it's already saved and you didn't have to hit the save button. Because of that, it's very, very important that you get your incident date in there. If it has no date, it's still saving it, but when you go to the incident list, you won't find it in your list because it's looking for a date and you have no date. There is a way to find it. I'll try to remember to tell you that when I show you the incident list, but for right now, just know it is very, very important that one of the very first things you do is put a date in there. So when things pop up over here on the left, if you need it to go away, there's always going to be a little X right there that you can click and close that out. Let me go back up here. I do have a building fire, but it was aid given. I'm going to take that away. All right, so notice that as I made this, instead of aid given, it's aid is none. There's a lot more things that popped up over here. I now have a fire and structure fire module.
Okay.
If you scroll down to the bottom, you'll always find this next button that will take you to your next panel over here. But you also, you don't have to go straight through the report. So if you've got an internet-enabled tablet that you want to do a run report on the scene, and so you've got it pulled up and in your apparatus and someone else is driving. So as soon as you pull up on the scene, you can hit this little button right there and it date time stamps your arrival on the scene. And then as you leave the scene, you could click the button again and it auto date time stamps it for you. Notice when I clicked it out of order, it's giving me an error message because my date, my alarm date cannot be before I got on the scene. So we need to adjust that. So again, you can hit the next button to go to the next panel, or you can jump around in that. You'll notice the narrative is now under the summary section, and I may see if I can rename that actually. But you'll notice now your narrative is required. This is going to be a required field that will get be a validation error and take points away. You still have the option to do additional narratives, but notice you'll have the ability to do apparatus narratives should you choose. Those are actually entered over here in your apparatus module, but they are going to copy over here on your summary page so that you'll have all your narratives in one place. Something new is the way you do your postal codes. You still can do your favorite postal code list. So right here, you've got that. That's set up under your resources. So you can create a list of frequently used zip codes. If you don't have one of those, or you just need to enter the zip code, you can enter that zip code and then click set from postal code, and it's going to fill in that city, county, and state for you. We've asked your county fire coordinators to create those custom zip codes where the mail delivers from outside your county into your county. So when you put that other county city name on there, it shows that other county name. This way you'll have your own county with that other city name. So your coordinator's handling that, and if it's not correct, you'll need to contact your coordinator to get that set up. All right. So under the property tab, this is where you're going to find your person, entity involved. You'll click add and you'll enter that information. Once you're done, you can click OK, but if you need to add another, you can just click add another and keep adding people. Something new is down here at the bottom, you've got your insurance information. So for you class 9 and 10 fire departments, state law requires insurance companies to pay you a minimum of $100 for your initial response to residential structure fires, but you have to ask for it. So this gives you a place to document that insurance company name, if they have the policy number, and if you choose, you can get the amount of that policy. You'll also notice in a couple places you've got your some questions that are not really part of the incident report. They are not required. They're not going to have validation issues. These three are some of those. This is those questions that the fire marshal's office is looking for if you have a civilian casualty. I put these here because a lot of you have Red Cross assisting you with housing for those, and Red Cross wants to know how many people lived there. Well, this gives you a place on the run report to document how many people of children, adults, and older adults. You'll notice over here on the far right, there's these weird looking buttons. These are those forms that I was telling you that we have the ability to add. This one is your smoke alarm installation form. There's your I'm not going to sue you disclaimer. Notice there's signature capture. So you can do that on the computer or on a touch screen device. You can have your owner and then your witness, and then there's all of your smoke alarm information. We had a lot of fire departments that asked us about this EMS form that INFRS gives us. Like some departments are like, it's way too much information. Other fire departments are like, it's not enough information. So what we did is create the EMS form that allows you to document whatever you want to document. We tried to make it complex enough that if you're a paramedic, you can document what you did. But if you're an EMR, then you can still document what you did without being overwhelmed. If that does not apply to you, you can either skip it or click none. If maybe something is on, you did something that's not on the list, we tried to always include an other with a text box so you can include that information. As you go through there, again, you can jump around within the report and enter that information. If you have multiple patients, then once you complete the first one, then you can add another one for every patient that you have. Additionally, we added a patient refusal form. So if you've got somebody refusing treatment and you want them to sign a form saying that they're refusing your treatment, then you have the ability to document that within the incident report now, again, including signature capture. Those also, if you need to add, you have multiple patients refusing treatment, then you can add as many of those worksheets as you need to. Another request we recently had was a consent to search form. So here we've got a consent to search form so that if you need to return to that scene for an investigation, or if your law enforcement agency or the state fire marshal's office, this will be a consent to search, the owner and or occupant saying they are giving you the permission to come back on their property. Again, if you have owner and occupant, you can add multiple forms. Down at the bottom, notice that this validation, if you click it, it now gives you a list of all of your validation errors. In the red on the left, that tells you how many points are being deducted for that. And to go correct this, you're going to click the arrow on the right, and that's going to take you straight to that part of the report so you can correct it. The menu button, this is where you'll add attachments, addendums, messages, so you can put messages in there. This is especially useful if you've got someone doing quality control so that they can say, hey, I reviewed your report, here's what I found, you need to get corrected. And that helps an audit trail because this message is now tied to this report. If this is an exposure report, here's where you add your exposure. And then something new that you've not had before is this clear module. So let's say you had a cooking fire confined to the container and it makes the fire and structure fire module as optional, but you decided you were gonna, collect some good data and fill it out. But then you realized you didn't have enough data to make it valid. So you just want to clear it out, or maybe you've just made a really big mess and you want to start over. So you can clear that module and then start over if you need to. New on the status, you'll notice there's some things you might be missing, but you also notice there's some new things. This delete incident, that is only for people who have admin access. So instead of you having to contact us and say, hey, can you delete a report for us, you just set the status to delete incident, and once a week we'll go in and delete that. All right, whoever's on the phone, I really, really need you to mute your phone. It's causing the audio to go in and out for other people. Mute your phone, please. Some things that you will not be able to set, but there will be a status for that, is needs re-export to infers. So if you make those changes after the report is locked, then we will set that to needs re-export to infers. Something that many of you will really like is if we have talked to you about your incident type other and we've decided that that is the best option, then we'll have a new incident type for state QA completed, and that status will allow that report to roll off of that monthly list that comes to you so that it doesn't come to you every month and we've already talked about it. So those are a couple of new things. Speaking of locking the reports, they will no longer lock after 60 days after you enter it. Once I export it to infers, I will manually lock those down. And once I unlock them, instead of them locking at midnight, they will be unlocked for 96 hours. So for career departments that have ABC shift, you'll have it open for all 3 shifts. And for volunteers, if you'll let us know prior to 5 p.m. on Friday that you need them unlocked, they'll be unlocked all weekend. All right, phone caller, that phone. Thank you. So they'll be unlocked for 96 hours before they automatically lock again. And then for those fire departments who want their reports to lock sooner than 60 days, there is an option for finishing the incident that can have it auto lock at that point. Once we get into the admin portion, I'll show you where to set those settings. One more thing on the run report is your apparatus personnel module. You notice I clicked that red button. Now I'm going to click new to add my personnel. I'm sorry, my apparatus. Notice that now you will not be able, or it's a validation error if you don't have personnel on your call. So you'll go over here and click this edit button and then click add personnel and just choose from the list who was on that scene. It's going to default the primary actions and other actions taken as well as your times from the basic module, just like it has always done in FireBridge, but you can edit this by each piece of apparatus. And then down at the bottom is where you'll do your narrative. The smoke alarm form, I mentioned the narrative on the basic narrative right here. This will not be required on a single smoke alarm installation. If it's part of your EMS report, then you'll still have to be required, but not if you're only doing a smoke alarm installation. And on that smoke alarm form, your incident type and actions taken are already defaulted to the correct codes and you can't change them. So that helps you, so you're not looking for all of that, it's already there. And with that, we've been asked by many people, hey, you know what, we got canceled as we were pulling out of the station. Or what, as soon as we pulled up on the scene, the ambulance said, hey, we don't need you, and we never got out of the POV or the apparatus. So we need a code for that. Well, in this system, we've been able to do that. You've got a canceled on scene for medical calls, and then a canceled at as you were leaving the station for all other incidents. If you are on the scene, even if you did not exit your vehicle, it is still a medical call and has to be documented as such. If it's a fire scene, even if you didn't get out, then you've got to document that fire scene. So it's just no other way around it. So there's a couple other codes like that. There is a lot of you ask me about medical alert activations. Where does that go? It's in there. Where did I put it? It should be coded as a 745 alarm system activation, no fire, unintentional, but that confuses a lot of people because it says no fire. So I just added another code for a medical alarm system activation that was unintentional. And so when we send that to infers, it's sending the correct code without that extra one. So that makes all of you happy to give you a code that you want to see, but it still makes infers happy to get the correct code according to their rules. Another thing that we've been having some issues with is on the apparatus personnel module. People are changing the apparatus type and especially the apparatus use on the incident report. These two pieces of information are set in the setup, and those should not be changed on the run report. Just because you went on a medical call does not change your fire engine to an ambulance. So you leave that as engine. It also does not change its use from suppression to EMS. EMS is only for ambulances, and unless you're in DeSoto County or Vicksburg, you don't have an ambulance. So your apparatus should never be EMS. And as a matter of fact, if you change it to EMS, and notice you get a validation error. So you'll only be able to choose other or suppression, and that should be set in your setup, and you should not be changing it within the run report. We covered all of that. I also noticed on this run report when I showed that mutual aid was given, notice the aid given department, it says no values available, which means that there are no active mutual aid departments. This is another thing that we've asked your fire coordinator to set up. So if you log into your site and you see it says no values available, you need to contact your fire coordinator to get that set up. Once they do that, then the state should be completed, and then you'll need to enter their incident number. If you don't know their incident number, do not put something bogus in there. It's not for a placeholder. Notice that this is not taking point values away. It's just a warning saying, hey, this is required, but if you don't have it, it's okay. Your fire coordinator can get that information from you every month or for you every month. So then you can go back and update the report with that actual incident number. So that ties the reports together. Also, everybody always wants to know, well, how do I print a run report? Well, notice up at the top, you've got a print button and a PDF button. They both will generate a report. Print is going to open that in a new tab as an HTML, and then the PDF will just generate a PDF for you. But notice when I click that, it gives me two options: your regular infers report, or something called a monthly report that's been set by the admin of this department. So if you know that every time or most of the time you print a run report, you need it to look a certain way, the admin can create that in the print form manager, and I'll show you how to access that in a minute. If you don't create your own print form, then it will automatically take you to this, and you can just check or uncheck the parts of the report that you want to print and click OK, and then it will generate that in that new tab or the PDF for you. So it just depends what you're looking for. Okay, so this has been saving this as we're going along. We can close it or without, and notice it saved before we close. Once you close the report, it's going to take you back to your incident list. There's the new button that will start a new default run report, which is that report we just looked at. If you need to add a smoke alarm form, then you would have to go up to that incidents to do that. If you forgot to put that incident date in there and now you can't find that report, if you'll click this little X to clear out those dates and click go, it will give you everything. You'll probably have to tell it to look at the dates in the reverse order, but you'll be able to find those reports without those dates. These buttons over here on the right, this would show you if there were any attachments with this incident. It would have a number there showing how many there were. Are there any messages with this incident? An audit trail or the history of the changes for that report. You can print straight from here, and then you can also edit your apparatus and personnel from here without actually opening the report. This arrow button will open this report in this same tab, and then if you're set up, you'll have the option in the setup to add another button that will open the report in a new tab if you'd rather have it do that. If you don't like the way this list looks, depending on your permissions, you can create different list views. I have 3 different ones set up that are all visible only to me. So you can make those publicly visible or privately visible. Okay, Zach, questions?
We had a very good question on the location for the GPS coordinates.
Okay.
They want to know what format do we prefer, and will it be able to enter the national grid format?
So for the location, the GPS coordinates, that's under location. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's your incident GPS locations. It is degree decimal, which means it's a 2-digit number and then a bunch of numbers behind that. ImageTrend is going to cut you off at 6 numbers. For the longitude, it is always negative, and you need to make sure you add that dash before it to show that it's negative. If not, it maps it on the other side of the globe. National grid, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that, so you're going to have to help me with that. So with Report Writer, you can have it put these incidents on a map. It'll be on a Google map, either as a pin or as a heat map. I don't know anything else about or anything about military grid reference. So you've got your address and you've got your GPS coordinates. There is a census tract, but nothing about military grid. If you will call me tomorrow afternoon and help me understand that and how it's used and what it looks like, there's some potential we might be able to add it, but I'll need some more information before I can commit to that. The other thing I just forgot or just remembered is if you have more than one people or person logged in to an incident report at the same time, there will be a green bar across the top that says someone else is in this report, and any changes you make may not be saved. And there's a link that you can click and see who is logged into that report, so you can contact them and talk to them if you need them to get out. But just know that if more than one person is logged in, it will let you know that so that you don't lose any of your changes. All right, Zach, what other questions do we have?
You want to explain about after we migrate about the modules, about how the checklist and all that's on work?
Yeah, I was going to get to that after we get done with the run report. Right now, I want to go ahead and cover any questions on the run report and then move on to other stuff.
All right, right now that's pretty much it at the moment.
Okay, so at this time, if you are that person that only enters incident reports and you will have nothing to do with the administration, this does not include entering training, inspections, locations, occupants, inventory, checklist. It's the setup of all of those things. If you don't need to do all of that, if you need to go somewhere else, you are welcome to leave. We're not pushing you out, but you don't have to hang around because we are done with the run report and we're moving on to administrative things. All right, so for those administrators in the room, when you click your fire department name, you're going to get a menu. Agency information is just information that creates you as a fire department. One big thing to notice is daylight savings time. You want to make sure that is set to yes. That way your date time is not messed up. Some of this you will not be able to edit because like your FDID and that kind of information, we've set that. You have no business changing it. You won't be able to edit that. Right here, if you have no runs to report, so you had no response whatsoever for the entire month, no incidents to report. So you find that under click your fire department name, click agency information, and then the no incidents to report tab. And then you'll click new and add the year and the month and click OK, and it will save that for you. And then you can click save. Under the configuration, this is where you're going to have some more of those setup things. You can now add your own logo. So when you get ready to go print a run report or an inspection letter, it will have your logo on it and not ImageTrend's logo. So it's very similar to putting an attachment on a run report. Go find the file, click save, and it updates that for you. Auto number, this is where you can set your incident report to auto number or your occupants or your inspections. We have it defaulted. This is not the way it defaults, but you can make changes to this if you don't like the default setting. Just let me caution you, if you are a volunteer department especially and you're not entering your run reports the day they happen, we do not recommend you put any date format in there because that date format is always based on today's date and not the date that you put on the incident report. So make sure that whatever you enter, it's not going to be date specific if you're not entering it for that date. Your configurable view list views, this is where I was telling you, you can build your own custom views for your incident types, your maintenance list, your inventory list. Some of those different lists, you can decide what they look like. I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds on this. It's pretty self-explanatory. I will tell you that at least on the incident list, it can be criteria based. So like if you only want to see building fires, you can set a criteria in that list so that you only see building fires. There is a webinar that will help you with this, but again, I can help you if you're still lost after the webinar. Your dashboard, this is where you're going to add those messages to the dashboard if you need to. When you go in and add those, notice that they can be specific to the user group that you have your user set up to. You can have a start and end date. So if you're going to be out of town and you know you need to put up a message between the 1st and the 5th, you can put it up there or set it for the 1st to the 5th a week, a month, a year ahead of time, and it'll automatically put it up there and take it down without you having to do anything. You can set it as important. So if you noticed when I first logged in, that first message said, like in big bold red letters, it's going to turn it red and put it at the top of the list if you set it to important. You can further classify things with different icons so that it kind of calls attention to what the message is. And then there are some formatting things that you can do to make it the appearance look a little different, and that's based on your preferences. Okay, lock working flow. I really don't know why you have access to this. So you see it's here now. If you log into it later and you find that it's not, just know that I've locked you out of it because you're changing my stuff and I don't want you to. Once this is where you set how long will the incident be active for before it auto locks, how many hours. It will not go more than 30 days, so just be aware of that. But again, I will lock those after I export them. And then once I unlock it, it will be unlocked for 96 hours. Let me make myself a note. So there you go. You can also do the same thing for your inspections. How many hours after the inspection is complete do you want it to auto lock? You also have this finish incident settings, and this is where you will have the ability to edit part of this. So if you want your incident to lock like as soon as the person's done with it, then you can turn on this finish incident settings, turn it on, and you can choose to have it lock upon finish. So when they click that close button, it will ask, do you want to finish the report now? And if they say yes, it will lock at that time. And you can set it to ask, do you want to do that on close or not? And then you have the choice, if you'd like, you can have it change the incident status at that time. So that would be for those of you who want the report to lock sooner than that 60 days when I export it to Infers. All right, the users, this is your staff module. This is where you're going to spend some time because we have changed the the permission group settings. So most of this information is very familiar to you. It just looks a little different. A big thing is if this person is going to have a username and password on this demographics tab, you want to make sure that you add an email address and click notifications yes, so that they can reset their passwords. All of your users have already been merged over in February. When we sit down together and do the final migration, we will re-migrate your users, so all your staff, so it updates their passwords, all of that information, so that you're not having to recreate all of your staff. The only thing that does not move over in this migration process are your completed checklist modules, checklist, and any custom reports that you've built in Report Writer. Everything else is going to move over for you. You'll also have the option if you started your inventory and you know you've messed it up royally and you're ready to scrap it and start over, you can do that. We can skip the migration of your inventory and you can start with a clean slate. But back to your users, again, all of this is very familiar. If it's in FireBridge, it's going to move over. We do recommend that you enter a lot of this stuff just to help you and us know what does the fire service in the state look like. Social security number, I don't highly recommend that. I wouldn't put that in there. but I would put the driver's license number instead. Your certifications tab, very similar to previous in FireBridge, except now you can actually enter all of your EMS certifications. At the bottom is your fire certifications. The problem is it's just like the old system. We don't have certification IDs and they don't expire. Notice the certification ID is required. So that's a little bit of a problem. I recommend you put all of those certifications in your training module. Your employment, this is very similar to your employment tab before. They must have a personnel ID before they can show up on a run report. And then after you enter that personnel ID, you'll scroll down here and notice under other duties assigned, it's going to ask you, should they be showing in the run form? And then you'll change that to active. So this is just a way for you to be able, like your administrative assistants, they may need to log into FireBridge for some reason, but they don't need to be listed as personnel on a scene. So this gives you the ability to put them in there and not put them on a run form. If this person is going to be an inspector, then you want to turn on active for that inspector so that on that inspection form, they will be listed in the drop down for inspection. Agency location is the new name for station. So when you click add entry, you'll choose which station this person is assigned to, and then you can even do a start and end date for that. For some of you, that may be very helpful. It's not a required field, so just set them to a station, click OK, and you're good to go. Account details is the permissions tab that you've been used to seeing. Something new is if you click into this password button, it's going to automatically clear that out, and then notice it grays out this check button. So if you have a firefighter call you up and say, hey, I want my password to be firefighter 123, and you set it to firefighter 123, when they log in with it, they will be forced to change it. So you should never know your people's usernames and passwords. Give them something generic, and then they will have to change it once they log in with it. Also, do not share usernames and passwords. Every person gets their own username and password, because that username and password is tied to your name, not your fire department specifically. Something new is this agency status. That's your active, inactive. You'll now be able to change this yourself. If they left your fire department, you set them to inactive, they can no longer get in the system or be on your run report. If they come back, you can come in here and set them to active again, and they can get back into your system and be put on a run report. Right here, login access, that is where if they get locked out, this is where you will log them back or allow them to log back in. It'll have two buttons, yes, no. You click yes, and that lets them, unlocks them. For whatever reason, it doesn't let you manually lock them. The only way to do that would be to set them to inactive and click save, and then go back to active and click save. And then I believe they're defaulted to no at that point. All right, so let's talk about the permission groups. We have 4 permission groups now. You'll notice the new one is grant writer. So we have some people in that are grant writers, and they write grants for multiple fire departments. So what we did is create this group called grant writer that allows them to access nothing but report writer in the system. So they can go in there and pull the information out of report writer if they know how to use it. Some of your grant writers know how to use report writer. Well, this lets them in there to get the data they need without actually letting them into your incident reports, so HIPAA compliance is maintained. You'll also notice we still have department admin, officer, and user. The difference is you'll have to ask yourself a different question to decide what permissions does this person need. Does this person need to see all run reports for your fire department? Yes, so they're going to be an admin. Do they only need to see their own run reports? Sure, well then they need to be an officer. Do they not need to see run reports at all? So they have no business looking at run reports, but they need to maybe get into the training module or the inventory module, then we're going to put them as a user. So again, admin can see all incident reports. Officer can only see the reports they enter or if they are personnel on that scene, and then user can see no run reports. Once you've made that decision, then you will have the ability to change what they can access. So you'll go under this tab for permission objects, and then unless it's grayed out, you will be able to set them to either yes and no access for some items, or hidden, read, edit, add, and full. So hidden means they can't see this information at all. Read means they can see it but not edit it. Edit means they can change it but not add it. Add means they can add it and do all these other, and edit. And then full means they can add, edit, and delete whatever it is. So for most of your people, you probably don't want to give them anything higher than add. Notice that you have the select all button, so you could quickly select everything in that section. And then in some sections, you have an on off button. So if we click this off, it turns off that entire section for them. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in what all of these things do. Just know that pretty much any part of FireBridge can be turned on or off. And if you notice, almost everything has a little information button out to the side. Just hover your mouse over that and it'll give you some additional information about what this is and what it's going to allow them to access or not. There is a document in University, and I'll have to remember what it is. You'll search for permission objects. It's going to do a search, and this is it, permission objects defined, and it will give you a bigger explanation of what all those different permission objects are. Records was a place that you can do immunization records. You can still do your emergency contacts like you did before, and then you can attach documents to this person. Again, do not attach the bajillion training certificates that these people have. I don't mind CPR cards. There's a lot of other documents that's wonderful to put here, but not that huge stack of training certificates that everybody on your department has. All right, so questions on users, because this is a big one and I flew through it pretty quickly. Zach?
No one sent any questions on the users.
Okay. All right, so very quickly, I'm going to run through the things that you will find under these other 3 tabs. We're not going to get into the weeds on those, just simply because the debate starts in, what is that, 22 minutes? Is that right? That's not right. Anyway, it'll be soon. And I want to get you through so you don't miss the debate. All right, so under this resources tab, think of the resources as building lists of things that feed the things in this incidents tab. So all of your drop downs. Additional building info is it goes in with your inspections. Agency locations are your stations. Yes, those come over from FireBridge. Alarms, 1 alarm, 2 alarm, 5 alarm, those come over. Building class codes, that has to do with your inspections. Checklist resources are the questions on your checklist. Those actually will come over from FireBridge so that you can build your checklist from those questions. The completed checklists don't come over, but the questions do, so you don't have to completely start from scratch. With the checklist, you're going to have 2 options. It can be on demand or it can be scheduled. On demand means it can be done multiple times during the day, so like a post-fire checklist. You have 5 fires today, you can do it 5 times. Scheduled reports, you can do weekly, monthly, or daily, and you get to choose that. Those checklists can be assigned to, a station, vehicle, or a person. So just know that there is a great webinar on that, and there's also a live webinar on it. Contacts, links to your inspections. The daily roster is the new name for your fire shifts if you're using that in FireBridge. If you are a career department, you can use this. It's just a way to set who's on each piece of apparatus right now for today. It has to be changed every day. We've had a lot of requests of what about a scheduling program? ImageTrend now has a scheduler called Slate, and you can contact their sales department if that's something you're interested in. It does integrate with this, so you can schedule your ABC shift and it'll pull from that scheduling module. Daily roster has to be updated every day. It doesn't save that information. Also, other add-on pieces, just while we're here about add-ons, you can still do CAD integration. And then if you're going to do inspections, you can still purchase that offline inspection, so you don't have to be on the internet to do that. All of those cost you. You can use rebate money to pay for that. You'll have to contact ImageTrend to find out what do they cost. All right, documents is just places you can put documents. Please do not put incredibly large files just because it eats up space. But this is where I told you we had put those info reference guides, sample run reports, that kind of thing. Facilities is an ambulance thing. It does not tie to anything that we have in Elite, so you can skip over that. Favorite postal codes is where you can create that list of frequently used zip codes that we saw in the run report. There again, there's your hydrants. If you have inspection types that you need to add, again, all this comes over from FireBridge, just like you've already got it set up, but there's where you'll find your inspection types. Inventory resources builds into your inventory. If you have reasons for leave of absence, you'll create those there. Your maintenance and repair resources, pay rates, all of this is pulling from your FireBridge. You're not recreating it, you just need to know where to find it. Your shifts, that should, like, what do you call it? ABC, red, blue, green, 1, 2, 3. That's where you create that for that drop down for shift on the report. If you have your streets and highways, those will come over. Now, supplemental questions, some of you have supplemental questions on your run reports now. In FireBridge, in Elite, you can create those questions, but you'll need to contact us so that we can add those questions to your specific fire department. You do not have access to edit the incident report, so we'll have to get those on your incident report for you. Not a big deal, takes almost no time, so just let me know and I'll get that taken care of for you. You should not have access to the supporting agencies. Notice it's all grayed out. This is where I told you we're asking your fire coordinators to set up your mutual aid departments. They'll be taking care of that for you. Training and activity resources, that's where you build your categories, subcategories, and templates. Again, all that comes over, and we set it up in a new way, like the rating bureau needs to see it. And so when we do your migration, we'll go over what does that look like, so we know if we need to make some of that stuff that you created that came over, we can make it inactive so that it looks just like what the rating bureau and I talked about to help you help them. Help you. Here's your vehicles. That's where you'll create all of your apparatus, not for inventory purposes, but just for going on run reports, training records, and those kind of things. If you are doing inspections and you have a local violation, then you can add those violation codes there. And then your zones and districts. Under this tools tab, this is where you build things. Now, these are the list. Under tools is building those forms. So checklist manager is where you will build your forms. Form manager is where you can build your inspections, locations, occupants, training, and activities. You can build those forms yourself. Obviously, there's going to be the default form that ImageTrend has built for you. If you don't like it, you can build it again yourself. You can edit what they have. Or under community, you can go out to the library and find one that another fire department from another state has built that you really like, import it in and use it instead. Print report manager, that's where I was talking about your incident report. You can make a custom report that you can print without having to click those check boxes. Supplemental form manager is those inspection forms. And just for those of you doing inspections, we did add the daycare form. The health department still wants their own, but this allows you to be able to document it if you want to be able to query it yourself. And then for all those forms you can build, you'll have the option to build validation around that. So just like there's validation rules with your run report, you can build validation on your inspections, your checklist, your training, and those kind of things. Here's also where you find report writer. And I bet the standard reports is what I was asked about earlier, call percentage report. There it is. So this is like on your current modules tab where it had that report list. There are these standard reports. It's a much shorter list, but there it is for you under standard reports. And then again, communities where you're going to find the university and the library. You still have your inbox where you can send messages amongst yourselves, and that's where you'll find messages related to your incident reports should you be using that. This you'll see your name listed here. If you click account, it will allow you to edit your own demographic information. So people who have access and they change their email address, phone number, or even street address, they can go in and edit that themselves without having to get in touch with the admin. Here's a link to our original FireBridge. You'll still be able to access that. And then here's where you log out. You can access the testing department now. We very much encourage you to go into the testing department for the next 2 weeks and get very familiar with it. I will not migrate any fire department before October the 19th. So how do you ask for migration? After that 2-week period of doing these run reports, then you will need to go in, do an incident report on a building fire. I want to see a building fire with good information, not real information, but do a bogus building fire to 100% validity, and you'll complete this worksheet here. It's called Elite. You'll complete this with your fire department name, county, your name, and then your email address and phone number. That lets me know that you're ready for the migration. I will contact you to schedule a time to do the migration so that we can make sure that we're both available, and we'll walk through that process slowly to make sure we get everything moved over correctly. Once we move you into Elite, you will all be set for your whole fire department will be set to view only in FireBridge. The video will be posted on, where did I put it? On the Fire Marshal's webpage, there is a shortcut to get here on the dashboard at the very top. Let me go show you where that is. This link right here will take you straight there. And then the insurance department website, if you just go there, Google search Mississippi Fire Marshal's Office or Insurance Department, put your mouse over our logo, and then down here, incident reporting resources, you'll find those videos right there. It will be, hopefully it'll be up tomorrow, but once it's there, I will go back onto the FireBridge home screen and put a link to it to tell you where to get it or how to get to it. Something that we're temporarily losing, but it will come back, is that the mapping. If you're using locations, occupants, inspections, hydrants, those are all, you're used to having that little Google map. That is not currently available, but it will be at some point in the future. So don't panic. You haven't lost it forever. It will come back. After we get all the fire departments moved into FireBridge, we will be able to start merging accounts. So if you've got a firefighter that you know that his other fire department has already been migrated, then we can go ahead and merge that into a single account. But we cannot do that until all fire departments for that person have been moved into Elite. Questions, Zach?
I haven't seen any come across.
For you and people who do inspections, the 2018 code is available in Elite. You'll have 2006, 12, 15, and 18 now. All right. So if you guys don't have any questions, I don't have anything else to tell you. You have about 6 minutes to go get on the debate. So last chance for questions. All right, hearing none, thank you all. Go enjoy the debate. And if you have any questions, feel free to get in contact with us. And we hope you are as excited about Elite as we are. Thank you, guys. Brenda, he's a good helper.